orthography. When it comes to language, orthography is probably one of the most interesting parts you've never heard about. Orthography is all about the symbols we use and the way we use those symbols to represent our spoken language. So in systems of language that use the alphabet to represent sound, the orthography there is all about which letters or combination of those letters we use to represent different sounds. Really interestingly is that those rules vary across languages. Some languages, like Finnish or Spanish, have a much simpler and more streamlined orthography where there's a very direct letter to sound correspondence, whereas other languages like English and French have a much more complex system. In English, for example, we can use over 120 different combinations of letters to represent the 44 phonemes or sounds in our language. So that old trope of English being the hardest language to learn is very true. In English, the phoneme f can be represented as PH as in phone, GH as in enough, or F as in fuck. In Finnish, on the other hand, S always represents K, always represents K, regardless of where it is in a word. Simplicity, or as the Finnish say beautifully, yksinkertaisuus, is bliss. This continuum of orthographic complexity is known as orthographic depth. Those languages with more streamlined, or as we often say, transparent orthographies are in the shallower part of the orthographic depth, whereas the languages with a more complex or opaque orthography are at the deeper end of the orthographic depth continuum. Research has shown that it's actually easier to learn to read in languages with a shallower orthography. It's much harder to learn to read in languages with a deeper orthography. If you're reading in Finnish, every time you see the letter K, you know it's a K sound. Reading in English and you see the letter C, it could be a K or a S. Not only is that true for reading, but it's also true for spelling, because when we hear the sound K in Finnish, we know it's a K. But if we hear the same sound K in English, then we need to figure out if that's represented by the C or the K. Our brains need to do more processing when it comes to reading and spelling. Orthography is fascinating, and the depth of a language's orthography can have profound implications in terms of how efficiently and how easily we can learn to read and spell. Until next time, Rupert, lover of orthography, lover of language, building spellcaster, goodbye.